welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Steve Van Edelstein. Thank you all for joining me again today as we go through and we do today's reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good one. Yesterday's was really just a great one about building our lives upon moral principles, right? And we talked about a sick mind, we talked about a sick body, and how the body serves the spirit does not serve the body. And it's a really good one just to remember and kind of bring back into yourself. So I'm looking forward to today's. It will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. So you'll, well, excuse me there. And I'm just going through, there's another part of that I say, and I can't seem to get it. Oh, because this will be my first time reading it or hearing it right here on this podcast with y'all. Sorry, guys. It was a long day today. I was out at the state fair with the family, so forgive me for that. But here we go. This will be September 2nd from James Allen's Daily Meditations. Men are not made unhappy by poverty, but by thirst for riches. When there is a cause, its effect will appear. And we were affluence the cause of immortality, and poverty the cause of degradation. Then every rich man would become immortal, and every poor man would come to degradation. An evildoer will commit evil under any circumstances, either he be rich or poor. The right doer will do right howsoever he be placed. Extreme circumstances may help to bring out the evil which is already there, awaiting its opportunity, but they cannot cause the evil, cannot create it. Poverty is more often in the mind than in the purse. So long as a man thirsts for more money, he will regard himself as poor. And in that sense, he is poor. For covetousness is poverty of the mind. A miser may be a millionaire, but he's as poor as when he was penniless. That's an interesting one today. Excuse me. I enjoy that one. It's one I have to remember. One of the things that many people have a problem with, and I myself struggle with, is, wanting to be somewhere else than right where I'm at. And that removes my gratitude for the things I currently have. Right? So that first line, men are not made unhappy by poverty, but the thirst for riches. It's, I think that's true. It reminds me, I think, of a Buddhist tenet regarding desire, that desire is the key to all unhappiness, because it's us our wanting something different that causes our unhappiness. I've said before on here, I think pain is the distance between where we're at and where we think we should be, or where we're at and where we want to be. And desire causes that. We desire more money, we desire more of this prestige, power, right? So it always causes a feeling of lack and poverty and unhappiness. So men are not made unhappy by poverty, but by their thirst for riches, for not being content, or not believing you have enough. There's so much power that actually comes from believing you have enough. Even when you're not the most rich, even when you're not the richest man in the world, even when you can't afford multiple pieces of property, or whatever you want to assimilate or equate that to, excuse me. It's the ability to be present and grateful in a moment. It's what gives us contentment and happiness. So, all right, I got my phone next to me because I want to look up this next couple. I just want to make sure I'm reading this next part correctly. When there is a cause, its effect will appear. So that's that's a pretty good rule. Also, it's a spiritual principle. When something's happening, there's always a cause, right? You and I mean that's physics, I guess too, right? That's a lot of things. But for something to be for there to be a result, there has to be a beginning, right? The end equals a beginning. So where there's a cause, its effect will appear. So always know that. Like when it's similar to that concept of we sow the seeds we sow, we will reap the harvest of, right? If you're putting out negativity and pain into the world, then you'll reap that as well. So, but the second part here is where I want to make sure I've got it the right words, the right understanding, and where and were WRE and were affluence. Okay, that's the word. I believe I know what it means, but let's look it up anyway. A state of having a great deal of money and wealth. Okay, yeah, that is what. So yeah, financially well off state, and were affluence the cause of immortality, and poverty the cause of. Okay, I see what they're saying here. See, I appreciate you hanging with me through these sometimes because sometimes the wording can be a little tricky for me as you're going through it the first time, and because I really don't read these before I go on jump on here. I feel like the genuine response is more appreciated and what I'd rather give you instead of a scripted answers or anything that I've rehearsed. So sometimes I got to look words up and sometimes I got to make sure I have the correct understanding. So thank you. So he says here, and were affluence the cause of immortality. So money, right? The property, prestige, the cause of immortality, and poverty, the cause of degradation. Every rich man would be immortal, and every poor man would come to degradation. So what we're saying here is if the actual if money and financial abundance in the way of wealth and riches was what gave us that immortal feeling, that eternal to fall into alignment with that eternal that we've talked about, the spiritual living and that power greater than ourselves to walk alongside it, right? And every rich man would be immortal and every poor man would come to degradation. So it's meaning money's irrelevant to our moral character and fiber, right? An evildoer will commit evil under any circumstances. This is important. Someone that is selfish will be selfish regardless of um, their circumstance. Uh, what money does to people is makes them allows them and enables them to be more of exactly what they are already. Okay, so as much as people don't necessarily believe that, and they'd like to think money could change their lives, and when their lives change, they'll change with it. It's not how it works. You just become more of who and what you are in that moment, most of the time, anyway. So, an evil doer will commit evil under any circumstances, whether he be rich or poor. He'll be selfish and evil regardless of money or not. Honestly, money can enable people to behave much worse. A right doer will do right howsoever he be placed, right? So, someone who follows a spiritual way of living, someone that follows those spiritual principles and practices and there's that discipline, regardless of whether they're on charity or they're a billionaire, they will always do the right thing. Money will only strengthen their character at that point. So it's yeah, it's stating if you're a selfish, evil, selfish, self-centered person, you will be that way if you get money. If you are a right doer, you will be that way if you get money. Okay. Extreme circumstances may help to bring out the evil which is already there, awaiting its opportunity, but they cannot cause the evil. They cannot create it. Right. So we're still talking about a right doer will do right whatsoever. Howsoever he be placed, extreme circumstances may help bring out the evil which is already here, already there, waiting its opportunity. But but they cannot cause the evil. They cannot create it. So it's again saying that there might be circumstances that arise that people become affected by or that influence someone's life, but a right doer will always do right. They will not create it. They will not cause it. Poverty is more often in the mind than in the purse. That's true. Poverty is a state of mind. And the funny thing is, when you start to change that, you become more prosperous very relatively quickly. Maybe not millions, but financial security for certain. So, yes, I do believe poverty is more often in the mind than in the purse. So long as a man thirsts for more money, he will regard himself as poor. And in that sense, he is poor. For covetousness is poverty of the mind, right? It's whenever you think you need more of something, it could be beauty, it could be money, it could be power. You inherently believe the opposite. If you truly feel you need more, believe you need more, think you need more of something, then your belief is the opposite of yourself, which isn't always the which you don't always think about. That's a principle, that's an axiom that I've found to be true in myself, right? Everything that I'm going after and I'm desiring, I have to take a look and do I believe the opposite about me? And most time I'm right. Most time I have some underlying belief I need to change or some personal work, self work I need to do. Because that applies to so many things. That last line, so long as a man thirsts for more money, he will regard himself as poor, and in that sense, he is poor. For covetousness is poverty of the mind, because you always think you need. You're in the people would call this a um, state of lack. You're not in a state of abundance. You're selfish. There's a lot of things, a lot of lines of thinking that get represented in that line. So, and now for the final bit here, which is really restating the last paragraph we just talked about. A miser may be a millionaire, but but he is as poor as when he was penniless, because he still thinks the same way, right? He could have a stockpiled room full of gold, and he still would not believe that he was financially okay. If he's still being a miser. Let's look up the definition of that one too. Funny sometimes that you look up something and you didn't even put two and two together, but miser is the first five letters of misery. So, but a miser is a person who hoards wealth and spends as little as money as possible, which frugal is sometimes it can be a good thing, but A miser is very much obsessed with money. Somebody that's overly concerned with pinching every single penny in a sense due to the fear of it not being enough. So, all right. Well, that's a hard topic to cover. The uh, uh, when it comes to spirituality and money is always a difficult thing to actually kind of involve with each other. People have a hard time with it. I still do from time to time. Actually, thinking about financial things in a spiritual light. And this wasn't necessarily proposed at money being a bad thing, but more so the principles that go behind a person living should they get money, or what happens to someone, or people desiring more. More so is what this was about. So, but a great reading, absolutely fantastic. I need to hear about these things and remind myself of that axiom we kind of talked about earlier. So, it's a great tool to use. Use it often. So, thank you all for joining me today, though, and I'm looking forward to seeing how September rolls out for us. So, until next time, thanks.